Now I'm welcoming you to one of the most defining sessions of this conference, the role of all actors. Yesterday and early today, we explored what the Nexus is, why it matters, and how it can transform humanitarian development and peace outcomes in Yemen. Now, we ask the most important question of all: who will make it happen, and how? Phase 2 of the Yemen Nexus initiative is not just a vision on paper. It's a strategy that demands collective action, aligned efforts, and mutual accountability. No one actor can carry it alone. This session brings together a diverse panel of stakeholders, local NGOs, INGOs, donors, the private sectors, and women-led networks to reflect on their unique roles in making the Nexus real on the ground. Let's welcome Amy to do the facilitation of this session. Amy?
Thank you, Jumana. I think that was a perfect introduction. Mársiela, do you want to join me on stage? And we have Romano online, Munir. I will jump right in. I know we already know Mársiela, but I'm going to introduce you again, just in case people have missed something yesterday. Mársiela is the head of cooperation at the German Embassy to Yemen from the German Federal Foreign Office. She started her journey in the German parliament at the SPD Parliamentary Group on European Policy and later Foreign Policy, and then served 18 years as a personal advisor to former German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt at the Federal Chancellery, at that time responsible for foreign and security policy. Before her current assignment to Yemen, she was the deputy head of EU division at the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development. And the question today for you is, how can donors better incentivize inclusive and integrated approaches across the HDP Nexus pillars? And what conditions or mechanisms can enhance the effectiveness of their support in phase 2 of the Nexus strategy? I'm going to sit down again, and when you see me walking around, please start rounding off. Thank you.
Did you say how many minutes?
5.
5. I do my best. How can donors better intensify inclusive and integrated approaches across HDP? I think the question is, why should they? If we all understand the necessity of the Nexus, we would not have to discuss if we have to ask people to work on it. So I think the problem is more about the awareness. Do we all understand what is Nexus? Do we all, I know, Romano, you will come in later, but do we all feel the Nexus? Do we all feel that this is a necessary way out of the crisis or inside the crisis, that there is no way, no other way to solve the problems that we have in such a crisis, humanitarian crisis, like in the country Yemen? So I think if we all will get the feeling for this and the awareness, then we don't have to ask about ask actors to come into the Nexus. It's more about how can we create the awareness about Nexus. And I think the problem is always the same. We are talking about Nexus since 10 years, and the talking is causing the problems. We are talking, we are creating long texts about what it could be, but there is only one sentence that says what it is, and it is the instrument to improve the situation of the people on the ground. This is the instrument to implement projects which are urgent, at the same time sustainable and peaceful in mediation on the ground. If we find the feeling for this, that has to be the way how to help the people, then we will find a way how to do it. And we will find the way only if we focus on this and not on how to compete between each other about who is doing what, who becomes visible, but to get together, like we were talking yesterday already, and to work together. And to work together, we have a structure on HDP Nexus already. This is what we installed 2022. We have the Yemen Partner Group, we have the Yemen Partner Technical Task Group, we have the working groups, sectorial, from the international level. Be good to use this structure. There is already the base for the coordination that we should use. We are always mobilizing everybody and asking for using this structure to go together from the international side together with the Yemeni side. So we've heard yesterday about the cluster coordinating HDP in ties. The cluster is a humanitarian coordination forum. There is no development donor in the cluster. The cluster is an essential part of the HDP Nexus coordination, but is not the HDP coordination. I think the awareness is still the most important. Am I over already? Okay, thank you. is the thing that we have to think about, and we have to look at who are the important actors to support the coordination. We see what ADO is doing. It's an amazing job what you have done. You are working on the local level, but you definitely need the support from above to be able to implement. So where is the other level that is planning for the Nexus to support you in the implementation? And the level is the government, the donors, the government is in the leadership. This is where the donors need the government and the awareness in the government and the ministry like Musa, you cut me off.
Not yet.
Musa, to lead the HDP Nexus coordination from the Yemeni side, together with the local NGOs, with the civil society, and from our side, international side, donors, UN and INGOs, to support you from that side. I think this is very important to make the conclusion of this. We still have a lack of awareness what the Nexus is, and we still have a lack of leadership in the Nexus from the Yemeni side, not from the international side.
Thank you. That was very succinct and with a clear recommendation. Then we move to Mr. Romano Laaskar, who you also heard yesterday, but I'm going to give you the bio anyway. An expert on the Humanitarian Development and Peace Nexus at UNDP's Crisis Bureau in New York, with more than 20 years of experience at OCHA, the Oil for Food program, and the Department of Political Affairs. He's worked in strategic planning, partnerships, and policy. Currently, he manages the HDP Nexus Academy, which delivers training and strengthens practical understanding and implementation of HDP Nexus approaches globally. I think that's extremely relevant also given what Marcella just said. Romano, can I ask you to answer the question? The Yemen Nexus Initiative has been set up to be a platform that is as inclusive as possible. From your perspective, what are the missing links to make it ready for phase 2 of the Yemen Nexus strategy? You have 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you. You're on mute, Romano.
Thank you so much for having me, and I apologize if I'm not totally coherent, but I was trying to listen as much as possible, even here, sitting in New York. I wanted to start off really by showing my background here, which, as you can see, is the migrating birds, and I have that as a background to really explain what I think is the nexus, which is which is all of us in the room. We're NGOs, we're UN, we're government, we're individuals. And all of us are our individual selves, but we all know that in order to survive, in order to receive, to renew our mandate, in order to be able to, fulfill our objectives, we have to go from tree A to tree B. And sometimes they're thousands of miles away. And it's not that there is always one bird that is leading. It's not the UN bird leading. It's not the NGO bird leading. It's not the government bird leading. All of us have to take turns. And what we realize here, maybe in the room as well, first of all, there must be some level of it being bizarre that you're sitting in Amman, but you're talking about Yemen. That's already the first dystopian effect. Second of all, that those of you who are in Yemen are online. Or Taiz or Hodeidah or anywhere else, it's very tough to be able to really move forward and discuss something even from these peculiar circumstances. And three is the environment around us. Yemen is not more peaceful than it was a year ago, or even probably than 5 years ago when all of these initiatives started, or 10 years ago when the Nexus initiative started. And things are looking gloomy. And I wanted to be provocative here. This is an open space where we're trying to brainstorm for the future. We have to assume that there's going to be less and less money available. And when we say money, we're talking really about what Márciela was saying. It's what we view as traditional aid money that comes more often or quite often from Western donors. But what we have to realize is that there is generosity all around us. And maybe we're not harnessing it properly. And second of all, when we say that we are aid actors, yes, we are humanitarian development and peace, but often if we go back to our humanitarian principles, we often act on the impulse of humanity. I want to do as much as possible because I am humanitarian. But I think all of us have to internally realize what is in my power and what is it in somebody else's power to move on and to actually make an impact. So as a humanitarian, maybe I can do just A and B, but C, D, E, F has to be done by somebody else. I mentioned this yesterday about the role of the government and local authorities, and Márciela, you've just mentioned it as well. We have to work hand in hand with the local authorities on the ground, whether we like it or not, whether we're allowed to or not. And maybe there are some things that the UN can do or cannot do, but there are other things that maybe local actors are able to do. In the survey that was mentioned earlier, everyone did say that their first guiding light, their Northern Star, was to be able to work with the local authorities. So we know that that is possible. How can we do that even more? What I want to do, really plant the seed on when it comes to what stakeholders to work with, is for all of you to think in the back of your head, if I cannot do it, who will? Because I think you have to work on the assumption that you won't be able to scale up your work. You won't be able to do more than you're already doing with the resources that you have. But perhaps there is somebody that will. And that could be the local imam, that could be the local madrasa, that could be the Waqf institutions, that could be the local government, that could be the technocrats, that could be a fantastic hospital manager that you have worked with that has an inspiration and is able to do things. Sometimes it could even be a political party. And so when we think about the principles of humanitarian response, which is independence, impartiality, neutrality, and humanity, we have to be able to be flexible with that and understand, when is it that we're so principled that we're blocking ourselves from providing the support to the people that are actually needed? And when is it that we have to say that in order to be able to, for the child or for the woman or for the affected person to receive the aid, we have to work with uncomfortable people. That's also part of the Nexus approach. It's changing our behavior. And when it comes to behavioral change, that's exactly what I want you to look at as well. Who are the people that you're not meeting on a regular basis? If I probably ask you how many of you are working with the World Bank, I would think maybe only 2 or 3 of you will put up your hand. And it's probably UN people. If I ask you how many people are working with the local madrasas and the local Islamic leaders, maybe many of the local NGOs will put up your hand, but the UN will not. When I say how many of you are working with the people and the government of Sana'a, half of you put your hand up, half of you will not. And maybe this is the way it should be. Not everyone should be able to work with everybody, but everybody should be aware about who can unlock which doors in order to be able to get the action done. And we have to realize that the only way to lock all of the doors together is if all of us use our keys. Sorry, this is sounding a little bit like an inspirational type of abstract discussion, but I'm really trying to be realistic about the fact that as much as we are humanitarian in our own behavior and values, we cannot do it all by ourselves. And even something like the Yemen initiative, it does bring in a ridiculously important angle of being NGO-led, of being local-led. But we have to make sure that the UN, that we do our part as the UN to support that we and our partnerships with the Western donors, with the IFIs, is really able to strengthen that as well. So colleagues, please think for the next 5 years of this next phase, what are the behavioral changes that you're going to make? Who are you going to meet differently? What is going to be your different expectations? What is your definition of success? And your definition of success should not be what you do differently, but it should be about how the people, regardless of who they receive the assistance from, are able to actually benefit from the collective support that we want to give. With that, May, allow me to give the floor back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was actually very inspiring and very clear. Really good examples. And sets us up nicely for the next speaker. The next speaker is Dr. Munir Saif, who is a seasoned expert in Islamic finance, e-payment systems, and economic development, with over 20 years of experience across the MENA region. He currently serves as the executive director of HSACF and HDP, and has led major innovations in Islamic microfinance, mobile payments, and youth empowerment. A strategic advisor, academic, and trainer, he partners with UN agencies and donors to promote inclusive, impact-driven development in fragile contexts. And the questions for Dr. Munir is, what are the concrete entry points for private sector actors to contribute to phase 2 implementation, particularly in areas like livelihood, resilience, and innovation? And how can partnerships between NGOs, government, and private actors be effectively strengthened in practice?
Amy, it seems that he has a problem. Could you go to the next speaker while I will check with him by phone?
Of course, no problem. Okay, remember that bio. Then I will introduce طارق Aziz, who is the Policy Advocacy and Communications Coordinator at IRC Yemen. He previously served as the Global Humanitarian Policy and Advocacy Officer at Save the Children, focusing on protection and humanitarian access advocacy, including support to Myanmar, Palestine, Haiti, and Sudan. From May to October 2024, he was the interim co-chair of the Global Protection Cluster Advocacy Working Group, and he holds a BSc in International Public Policy and an MA in Transnational Governance. And the question for you is, how will your organization align its programming with the priorities of the Phase 2 Nexus strategy? You have about 5 minutes, and when you see me getting up, please start rounding up.
Thanks a lot, May. So as you can tell from the bio, I have a very strong policy and advocacy background. So obviously, the comments today are going to be perhaps a bit biased towards that, but I think also bringing up important elements that we need to consider as we move into this next phase. So we're talking about how to ensure implementation is context-driven, right? And we also know the context has changed so much. We can see the effects of funding cuts and the impact that has had from the start of the year. That's lost about 50% of funding for the humanitarian response plan. So if the context has changed, therefore, so must we. We stand to lose a lot if we don't ensure that as humanitarian organizations, International Rescue Committee in this sense, look towards what we can do to ensure that we are strengthening our partnerships, because if we don't do that, all the work that has been put in over the last 10 years, this is what we stand to lose. Are we ready to do that, right? I think that's the question that humanitarian NGOs have to all ask themselves. So IRC is committed to the nexus in Yemen. You can see from the case studies that we discussed yesterday with ADO and the EPRM project and the linkages to UNDP, that it's already part of some of the programming we do, but there's much more that can be done. As we've all discussed here, there's roles and responsibilities for each and every actor, and so there's 3 that I'm going to cover today that I think humanitarian NGOs have a key place in. So the first is on partnerships. I've already said that, but I think this is really key, right? In Nexus programming, you need engagement of all stakeholders. We've talked about peace building, recovery and development. So within the humanitarian perspective, as IRC, we have an approach that's very partnerships driven. So it's called Peers. It's developed by our global office. And it's about working across the arc of a crisis alongside local actors, right? So it's broader than just implementing an activity. It's about supporting an organization's system, so it's governance, it's leadership, supporting with HR and finance and procurement. It's about supporting access and security, monitoring and evaluation and reporting. So all of these are capacities that a lot of organizations may need support in. And so based on the context, based on the need, identifying those and supporting more than just the implementation of an activity. So it goes beyond just a financial relationship. That's kind of the bottom line. So we know about the grand bargain. We know there's an aim to have 25% of partnerships implemented locally by 2025. We know that the grand bargain is facing quite a challenging time. I don't think anyone can really say that it's been quite successful, but we have to be ambitious, right? In this moment, I think I think this is a moment where we need to push further than we have before, or risk losing what we already have achieved. And at IRC, we have signed on to the Pledge for Change. I think a few organizations in the room might have also as well. And so that aims to have 30% of programs locally implemented by 2030. And I think that's just the baseline. It must go north from there, right? So the first is on partnerships. The second area I want to talk about is policy making. So obviously coming from a policy background, I think this is really important, right? It's about going back to root causes. This is something that as humanitarian organizations, we pat ourselves on the back and say, yes, we're responding and we're saving lives right now, here today. But how long has the crisis been going on in Yemen? And if we continue to do that and we continue to prioritize and feel good about just doing that, when we leave the country, as international NGOs do, what is the country that we're leaving behind, right? How have we contributed there? So we need to avoid that thinking as humanitarian organizations and look within our own programs, within our relationship with donors, about what we can do to challenge the status quo, to offer better opportunities for our partners, and create the systems in place that are going to exist long after, as international NGOs, we leave. So at IRC, we did a piece of research on women-led organizations in Yemen. So this was driven by our programs and the partnerships that our programs had with local grassroots women-led organizations. So our Women's Protection and Empowerment team identified an opportunity. They identified a challenge that women-led organizations were facing. We've talked about this yesterday in the panel on women-led organizations. And we took that opportunity to recruit a consultant who did a piece of research, spoke to women-led organizations, wanted to center the voice, wanted to center their voices, and hear from them what are the challenges they're facing in these partnerships that we're having, not just with IRC, but with NGOs and UN agencies as well. And how can we do better to have more equitable partnerships? How can we do better to create a better fundraising environment for them? And ensure that they also have a space. So when we went on a tour with our policy brief to Brussels, we didn't just go as IRC. We took a local partner with us. And we had them in the room, and it was really powerful. I didn't really fully understand the effect of a lobby tour before, but it was really powerful to have the chairwoman of a local organization in the room speaking to donors and breaking that barrier and speaking from the heart. And I think that's what we as NGOs, INGOs, need to do to ensure that we're really leaving Yemen in a better place than it was before. The last point, quickly, is advocacy, right? So the lobby tour is part of that, but we're looking at advocacy towards donors, advocacy towards other INGOs, towards authorities. So that lobby tour, it was about elevating local organizations and local voices, right? The findings from this brief, they identified there's a need for inclusion in humanitarian leadership structures, right? So we need to look at how are we elevating local NGOs, not just through giving them money, but also opportunities to sit on some of the leadership structures that are running the humanitarian programs in Yemen today. And it's about, within the current funding environment, identifying creative solutions. So if Yusuf will allow me to say, like, the Dutch Relief Alliance was one of the best practices that our research identified in terms of an alliance that is cost-effective and effective, right? It's an alliance that's prioritizing inclusive decision-making mechanisms and putting in place long-term trust-based partnerships. So I think these are the kinds of models that we should be holding up and looking at, like, these are the best practices to aspire to. We also have a piece of research that we're right now exploring with ICFA. I don't know if Iman is in the room, but exploring new angles to build opportunities for collaboration, for sharing knowledge and information. So we're looking to, through ICFA, working with a national NGO forum to strengthen governance structures, to identify within this funding environment what are the key challenges that local NGOs are facing, and support them with the research and the advocacy and comms related to that.
Thank
so
you.
These are just a few areas. Thank you.
I was trying to find a good point in your sentence to say thank you. But thank you. We will probably have a bit of time for a Q&A, so I think there might be space for you to elaborate. But I would like to, before we go there, give the floor to Dr. Aisha. Unfortunately, it looks like Dr. Munir is not able to join. We will see. Dr. Aisha, I'm going to introduce you as well to be complete. She holds a master in public health and has 35 years of experience in humanitarian and development work. And of course, we know her right now as the head of ABS Development and a member of the steering committee of Yemeni Women NGOs Leadership Network and the leader of the initiative that we're discussing here. The question for you is, what support is needed from other actors to ensure local ownership, gender equity, and sustained coordination?
Thank you. Thank you, Mاسيلا. Thank you, Roman. Thank you, Mr. طارق. Thank you for all. This is initiative of all. And we, as Yemeni Women Organization or Yemeni Women Leadership, we need a lot. But we will focus on the 4 priorities. Really, as a local organization, we already have started by self-funding for initiative and a small project, and we can also take from Zakah or from the private sector to do some intervention in this initiative, and some intervention for the community as all needed. But the most we need in this from the international actor, we need really to support women-led organization, because many women-led organizations have a lot vision and work from them soul. So we need from the international community to support women-led organization. Also, we need from international community to support the phase 2 for this initiative. Maybe this initiative tomorrow become a national strategy or a national initiative for all the Yemen. Also, we need from the international actor to work with us with trust, and flexibility, trust with us, and work with us shoulder with shoulder, especially in the risk, because when we implemented any project, we have a lot effort, and donor maybe sometimes this is only money and the time, but really as a champion of the field, we need our partner, our high partner, to work with us shoulder with shoulder, related to risk and related to development or project implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That leaves us about 15 minutes for questions and answers. And I think one of the things as well to take from the previous session is what concrete commitments your own organization or sector can make. So we definitely also welcome statements from the floor. But let's start with some questions. Also check online. Take some time to think.
Question from our side.
Please go ahead. Where did that voice come from? Online. Please, if you're online.
No online questions. No one asking, I mean.
No questions, okay. We have 3 in the room, 4 in the room. We'll go from left to right.
مساء الخير جميعا. أنا عندي سؤال عام كختاما لهذا المؤتمر الممتاز والمتميز. عادة بعد كل مؤتمر نسأل أنفسنا وماذا بعد؟ فأنا هذا السؤال حاب أسأله لنا كمنظمات مجتمع مدني، وأيضا لشركائنا من المنظمات الدولية والجهات المانحة وهيئات الأمم المتحدة. ماذا بعد؟ هل مثلا الاستراتيجية هذه لابد أن يتم ترجمتها إلى خطة عمل مزمنة ب5 سنوات؟ أعتقد هذه هي المهام القادمة لنا كمنظمات مجتمع مدني، وأكيد بالتعاون مع شركائنا في تحويل هذه الاستراتيجية إلى خطة عمل مزمنة لمدة 5 سنوات، كما فهمت أنه مدة الاستراتيجية 5 سنوات. ماذا سيكون دور شركائنا الداعمين في تنفيذ هذه الخطة؟ أعتقد أنه إيد واحدة ما تصفقش، وبالتالي نتوقع منهم إن شاء الله تعالى التعاون وأن نكون جميعا على نفس الخط. شكرا.
طيب، أنا أضم صوتي إلى صوت العزيزة عائشة، أنه يتم دعم المنظمات النسوية أو المنظمات التي تقودها نساء، لكن بالمقابل لا ينسونا. احنا ما احنا شلابكم ولا انتم شلابنا. يعني مشروع الدعم كله للمنظمات اللي تقودها نساء واحنا فلذلك احنا ايضا كمنظمات يقودها رجال، في معانا كوادر نسائيه، في معانا يشتغلوا معنا نساء ايضا، فاتمنى ان يتم اخذ هذا بعين الاعتبار.
You can pass to the other side. Afwan, there were 2 people here first. And in the meantime, let me just quickly, Lamia, I believe, if I didn't get that wrong, there is a session planned about the next steps, and hopefully we will be able to answer the questions there.
Sorry, if it's me, apologies, I didn't have the translation device on, so I don't know if my question's already been asked, so if it has been, apologies. I've got a question and then a point about the commitment we can make. But obviously it feels like this initiative here is grassroots, locally led, and it's sort of a bottom-up type of initiative. I'm wondering if there is And obviously we've got representation from local authorities, local NGOs and INGOs and some donors here as well. But I'm wondering if there is a structured coordination at the donor level on the Nexus. I know there was about 5 years ago, there was an attempt, I think it was EU, UNDP, and I think FCDO was also involved in trying to initiate this. I don't know if this is ongoing now, and is there a need for, if that mechanism is going on, if these discussions are happening, or is there any forum in which these discussions are happening at the donor level? And if there is there a need for us to marry the two or connect them in some way, provide a platform for representatives from this initiative to present the direction of travel, the ideas, the approaches that we've been talking about and discussing for the last 2 days, and their interpretation of the Nexus, or the interpretations that have been shared here with that forum, so that we can find some alignment. And actually that builds onto my next point, which is the commitment that we're making as SAVE when it comes to localization, which is a part of Nexus, is to provide that kind of platform for local actors to have that direct dialogue and, as Tarek mentioned, remove the barrier. So we're committed to doing that at this stage. We're also obviously looking at ways to be more efficient. I think I mentioned it yesterday. We're looking at where it makes sense for us to be rationalizing our work and handing over to local partners, and we're trying to scale that up. We've made a commitment to implement 30% of our programs through local actors by 2030 as well. And we have a localization strategy which we're implementing. Yeah. And apologies if any part of that question has already been asked previously by other colleagues.
No. If you can give the mic to Nabila, and then in the meantime, I will let the panel answer the question. I guess maybe it makes sense for Márciela to start. Okay. Yes, please. Yeah, I always think it's very difficult to build up lots of different questions about different things. So,
okay. I would start with the sentence, "Do no harm." I think this is for all of us. And do no harm means also we are not excluding men from what we are doing in Yemen when we are talking about women's-led organizations. The problem is that the women are not being focused that much. This is why all the donors are trying to support women as much as possible. But, like I said yesterday, we are not allowed to create new conflict lines in a country like, in no countries, nowhere, not in Germany, not in any other country, to create the conflict between men and women, because the civil society is what we want to work with and what we want to strengthen, to support. And civil society is men and women, but the women are not seen in that view like men are seen. So this is why the initiatives are going so in this direction. But for us, the principle is do no harm in everything what we are doing. And we still have to keep it in our mind, even when we are talking about IDPs, because what is IDPs? We had the discussion yesterday, long time. We are talking about Yemenis in their own country. So what is IDPs? The name already is a problem. So I just wanted to bring the focus on the conflict sensitivity, which should be our guidance, everything what we are doing. So don't worry, we are not looking alone on women, but going together with all. Bottom up, I don't think that it's working in Nexus. Bottom up is very important, but when will you reach the top? And the top is the decision makers. If the decision makers are not deciding about Nexus with the planning of what they want to implement, you will not reach them. So you will still stay on the local level talking about, you see how much engagement we have at the local level. We are missing the link between the top and the bottom. And the top is, like I said, the government and the donors and decision makers. That the link has to be, the bridge has to be rebuilt again. That went lost in the last 10 years, and we have to rebuild it again. And this is what we are doing. That was your question about the structure, HDP structure. In the HDP structure that we installed 22, Germany started 21 to organize the platform HDP, and then we handed over to resident coordinator David Cressley in 2022, and that was the YPTT group, the Yemen Partner Technical Task, I think this is the right name, a group that Germany created 21. This is the group on the level on implementing strategy. Hello? And we have a strategy level, Yemen Partner Group, and then the working groups. We have the structure, but we don't use it in a way how we should use it. The structure serves as a connection between humanitarian development and peace building, because all the three parts are working in different systems, and we need to synchronize it. We need to find a way how to work together in all the three fields. So you have a humanitarian, which is very well coordinated by the clusters, the OCHA, then you have development donors, that we always hear the criticism are not coordinated, but we have the structure that we can coordinate it, but to use it. So this is definitely something what we have. It's not a question about what we need, it's a question about to use it and to fill the gaps that we are still in to make it work on the ground.
Thank you. We only have time for 2 more questions. So it's Nabila and then Kamal online. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I want to emphasize about what Dr. Aisha said, what we need from international community. Yes, fund is the major thing that, the major need that we need, yeah. But also sometimes we need support, maybe technical support or sometimes psychosocial support. Also coordination between each other. We need to build this initiative step by step and also together. We're international NGO, but one stone and the other organization but another stone, and until we have a building for initiative building. So supporting is not fund only, but sometimes information, coordination, and psychosocial support. Another point I would like to ask Mr. طارق, there are many forums that have been informed in Yemen. So which one you are working with?
Go ahead, as briefly as you can, please, because we have 4 minutes and 1 more question to answer as well after. Thank you.
So first of all, yes, I fully agree, as you said, that it needs to be more than funding, right? And I think this is something that we have done internal thinking on. We have a global partnership team which will be coming to Yemen in a few weeks and looking to do brainstorming with the SMT to make sure that this is something that we're continue to be ambitious on going forward. More than just funding, technical competencies, governance, research and policy, etc. In terms of the localization, or the coordination and the actors that we're working with, through ICFA, we're working with the National NGO Forum. So I think that's led by Nahda Makers Organization. I think it's a relatively new one, but since I started working in Yemen in December, it could be that there are other forums as well that are also having their own platform. This is the one that seems to be closest connected at the moment to the international NGOs. So by all means, if there are other recommendations or for forums that we should be speaking to, I'm happy to hear it and make sure that we're having this be as inclusive as possible. Thanks.
Thank you. And Kamal online, please feel free to open the microphone.
حياكم الله. نعم، كمال الباكري من شبوة بحي. للأسف أنه لم نشارك معكم على أرض الواقع في الأردن، وأعطيت لنا الفرصة الآن نتكلم معكم عبر المايك، وهذه فرصة نشكركم عليها ونشكر منظمة عبد. لكن حقيقة يعني أقول حقيقة يعني تم تجاوز المحافظة هذه بكبرها، وهي تعتبر المحافظة الثالثة بعد حضرموت والجوف مساحة، وهي منطقة صراع، وبالذات في مديريتنا اللي نحن فيها مديرية بيحان تفتقر إلى المنظمات وتدخلها، بالذات ناهيكم عن منهجية نيكزس. فنتمنى يعني أنه يتم إعادة النظر في هذه المحافظة، علما أنه لدينا الآن منظمات دولية نزلت في محافظة شبوة، أطباء بلا حدود موجودة من سنوات، منظمة الإغاثة الدولية، جمعية رعاية الأسرة، هذه منظمات دولية الآن. جمعية رعاية الأسرة هي نعم محلية لكنها تتعامل مع الدونرز. فنتمنى أن نرى هذه المنهجية تتطبق عندنا، بحكم أننا بأمس الحاجة لها، ونحن الجار الأقرب إلى الأخوة في مأرب التي تتمركز لديهم اليون، منظمات الأمم المتحدة ومكاتبها، إلا أن هذه المديرية بالذات وهذه المحافظة لم تحصل على أي شيء من هذه المعايير أو المنهجية التي موجودة، فقط منظمات على انفراد، مثل أطباء بلا حدود في الصحة، والإغاثة في الإغاثة، وجمعية رعاية الأسرة بشكل عام. فأتمنى أنه إعادة النظر في هذه المحافظة وأن تعطى نصابها، بحكم أنه هذه الرابطة الثلاثية تنظر بعين الاعتبار في هذا الأمر. وتحياتي لكم جميعا، والمعذرة على الأقل تسمعوا أصواتنا عن بعد، لا نكون لا جسدا ولا صوتا. حياكم الله.
Not at all. We are very happy to have you join online, and sad you're not able to be here in person. I think that's a really good sort of call to arms for the next steps discussion as well, to see if there's any space for geographic expansion. And we are at time, so I'm gonna ask you all to give a big hand for the panel, and then we can get the next session going.